Yeah, we are live, brother.
Yeah, we are live. All right, all right. Hey, shalom, shalom, everybody. Shalom. This is Elder Carlos with the King James Bible University, House of the Lost Sheep, and the House of Jehovah. Today is Thursday. Today is a new day for us. Thursday. This is our first day that we're actually changing from Wednesday to Thursday. But it's always a pleasure and excitement to come in and present the Word of God to God's children. And with me, I've got my brother that need no introduction, Elder Martin.
Yes, sir. Shalom, shalom, everyone. So yeah, we definitely appreciate everybody for joining with us. So we're ready to get into it. You can go ahead,
Oh,
bro.
all right, all right. So anyway, you know how you guys, how we start out with our teaching. We go through these precepts and we use the preceptual understanding that the Most High gives us. And before we get started, get your pens and paper together and just write down some notes. But anyway, I'm gonna start off with Isaiah 28, 9 and 10. Isaiah 28, 9 and 10. Make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, that's great. And it reads, whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. For precept must be upon precept. Precept must be upon precept, line upon line, line upon line. Here a little and there a little. So it says, who shall he teach knowledge? We all need the knowledge of God, right? Don't care how long you've been in this truth, right? Every day we need to seek and to search his knowledge. All right, but how do we retain that knowledge? Right? How do we retain the knowledge of God that he gives us, the wisdom of God that he gives us? And we know the wisdom and the knowledge of God he gives us is free. All right, so let's go to Sirach 24 and 8. Sirach 24 and 8. And it reads, so the creator of all things gave me a commandment, and he that made me caused my tabernacle to rest, and said, let my dwelling be in Jacob, and that inheritance in Israel. So the dwelling place of the Spirit of God is in who? Is in Jacob. It's God's people, right? But remember, we have to be converted to who? Israel. So let's go to Ezekiel 11, 19 and 20. So just have to remember that the dwelling place is in Jacob, but he wants to reside in Israel. So let's go to Ezekiel 11, 19 and 20. So we can't do or keep the commandments of God or the precepts of God without the Spirit. All right. So we need the the Spirit of God to keep the instructions and the precepts of God. All right. So I'm going to read Ezekiel 11, 19 and 20, and it reads, and I will give them one heart, and I will put a new heart or a new spirit within you, and I will take the stony heart out of the flesh and will give them a heart of flesh that they may walk in my statutes. So we need that new spirit. We need that Spirit of God. That way we can walk in his statutes and in commandments. That way we'll be able to keep the precepts and the commandments of God. And it says, and keep my ordinance and to do them, and they shall be my people, and I will be their God. So let's go to Ezekiel 39 and 29. Ezekiel 39 and 29. All And it reads, neither will I hide my face any more from them. I will not hide my glory, and I will not hide my wisdom from them. For I have poured out my spirit upon the house of Israel, says what? The Spirit of God. Right, so that spirit, we need the Spirit of God to descend on us. Right, that way we can continue to follow his instructions. The same way he did to Yahushua. When Yahushua was baptized, he was led by the Spirit where he was tempted. So we need that Spirit of God to give us the direction and the guidance that we need to walk in this wilderness. So let's go to Proverbs 1 and 23. Proverbs 1 and 23. And then from there, we'll go on to the foundational Psalms, not 119. Psalms 1 and 23, and it reads, and I went there because he said something in particular where we have to keep his words. So we keep his word, we'll be able to follow what the precepts and the commandments of God. So Proverbs 1 and 23 reads, it says, turn you at my reproof. Remember, I will pour out my spirit unto you, and I will make known my words unto you, because he sent his words to who? Jacob, and he wants to dwell in Israel. All right, so let's go to Psalms 119, 4, and then 104. Psalms 119, 4, and 104. So it's kind of evident to see where if we don't have the Spirit of God, we cannot keep his precepts. Right? That's why we need the Spirit of God to guide and to lead us. That way we can continue to follow his instructions. So Psalms 119, 4, then I'll jump down to 104, and it reads, thou hast commanded us. So that commanded is a charge. It's a commandment to keep thy precepts diligently, but we need that Spirit of God. That way he can direct us. So let's go down to 104. So we have no directions without the Spirit of God, people. We don't. He need to guide us. He need to lead us. That way we can continue to follow his ways. And it reads, through thy precepts I get understanding. Therefore I hate every false way. So there's no other way to understand or comprehend the instruction of God if you're not using his precepts and his commandments. Let's go to Isaiah 34, 16. And all those precepts or commandments are found where? Isaiah 34, 16. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. All right, none of these shall fail. All right, but I'm going to read it. All right, I'll just paraphrasing. I'm going to read it. And it reads, seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read. It says, none of these shall fail. So again, there's many books within the book, right? None of the precepts, none of the commandments, none of the instructions shall fail. That's why we need what? The Spirit of God. Right? That the way the Spirit of God can dwell in us. And it says, none shall want her mate, for my mouth it had commanded, and his spirit it had gathered them. And then from there, let me see, Elder Mark, you got anything you want to add before we get started?
Nah, we good to go, brother. I definitely appreciate that one. So we good to go. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with the questions for the week. I will say this because these questions here, they more from like our younger audience, someone that's in the children's group. So we definitely want to bring these for. So they're gonna kind of be a little bit more foundationally. So but I know a lot of us, we're still babes, so we can still learn from these also. So hopefully this actually help someone out there. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with the first question of the week. All right, and it says, if you die right after you're born, do you go to heaven or hell? So I'll let Elder Carlos go ahead and keep it going.
All right, so let's keep it going, man. So, we kind of consider where the questions came from. And so I just kind of going to try to keep this as simple as possible for that young brother to understand. And I'm going to talk through a lot of the precepts anyway, just to make sure that he gets it. So, so we have to understand that we have a great master builder that laid the foundations of the heaven and earth. So the construct of life and death are in the hands of Jehovah, right? So he determines who makes it to the kingdom or who makes it to everlasting damnation. So it's not up to us, right? So we just have to depend on his mercy and his grace. If you do have a family member that died at a young age, and during this little lesson here, I'm going to share something with you from my experience that I learned from my mother. But so one of the characteristics is the very nature of the Father, right? So that's this mercy and that's his grace. So according to Ezekiel 18:4, go to Ezekiel 18:4. Ezekiel 18:4. So we don't own nothing of this body. We don't own this flesh. We don't own this spirit, right? Because this flesh goes back down to the dust and the spirit goes back up to the Father, right? But what we can do, make sure what we put into our heart, our spirit, that is all be edified in the word of God. So just the say-so that we always use is that keep filling that storehouse, right? Put as much fruit of the spirit in the storehouse. That way, when you come across that time and you do pass, the Most High looks at your heart. It'll be all spiritual understanding, wisdom, and knowledge that he gave us. So we can give that back to the Father. All right. So Ezekiel 18:4, it says, remember, all souls are mine. As the soul of the Father, so also the soul of the Son is mine. The soul that sinneth, it shall also die. So that child that was born at birth, and we don't know where that spirit goes. It's up to the Father. He makes that decision. Again, we would like to think that spirit, the Most High, accept that spirit and will have mercy on that spirit and will grant that spirit eternal life. All right, but that's up to the Father. We don't know that. So we got to remember that he knew us, that the Most High knew us from the belly before we were born, right? He knows what's in our heart. His knowledge is infinite and everlasting and forever. And according to Jeremiah 1:5. So let's go to Jeremiah 1:5. So the Most High knew us from the belly, so before we were even born. So he knows what was going to be in our heart before we were even delivered. So, and it reads, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee. And I ordained thee a prophet unto what? The nations. All right, so let's go to Romans 9:11. Romans 9:11. I'm gonna give you a quick short story here. I've mentioned before that I spent many years as in law enforcement, and I think one of my first 5 years, I got dispatched to a child's death. Right. So when I got there, of course, the mother was distraught. She was crying and yelling, and she was pretty. I think she was like 23 or 24 years old. Right. But she was upset. She was crying and heavenly soul because that was her child. But anyway, I enter into the apartment, and on the couch I saw this little 5-week old child, and she was the most beautifulest little girl I've seen. She was cute. She had jet black curly hair and she looked like she was asleep. And I wanted to touch her and said, "Hey, sweetheart, get up, get up." But that was not under my own power. But she had passed, right? And again, where that spirit goes from there is through the mercy, of the Most High. Yeah, I'm just kind of like choking up a little bit, just seeing that child, just kind of having a little remembrance of that child. But we have to trust the process of redemption and election. Remember, we serve a righteous God, and everything that he does is in alignment to his will. And he will not change or circumvent his design plan. So his design plan was go forward, right? And I'll share another quick story with you. I think when I was probably 12 or 13 years old, my mom told me that I had an older brother that passed. And that older brother was between me and my other brother. So he was like a year and a half older than I was. So he was born. But anyway, the day that my mom was getting ready to deliver, she was put in the ambulance. And I think she delivered in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. And the baby died. And it was a little boy. So I also have another older brother that didn't make it. Right. But again, through the Most High's mercy and grace, I'm kind of praying that his spirit is also in heaven. So again, it's out of our control. The Most High knows best. We just have to trust his righteousness, his fairness, and his equity. So let's go to Romans 9 and 11, and it reads, "For the children being not yet born." All right, so this is talking about Jacob and Esau. They're not yet born. Right, that's why I went to Jeremiah 1 and 5. He knew you from the belly. Right, he know what's in your heart. Right, and it says, "Neither having done any good or evil." So these children didn't do any good or evil. That the purpose of God, according to the election, so the election of the Father. So he's the one that decides if you make it go to the kingdom or you go to eternal damnation, the lake of fire. Not of works, but of him that what? Call it. So we know that the Most High is the end all be all. So he's the one that calls if you make it to the kingdom or not. So let's go to Isaiah 57. Isaiah 57 and 1. And this story right here is kind of in relation to Enoch. We know the story of Enoch, right? You read Genesis 5, 21 and 24. He knew God at 65, but he was taken up. Right, so we knew that, right? But we all know Enoch was what? Righteous. But he was taken up because what the Most High knew his heart. Right, so Isaiah 57 and 1, and it reads, "The righteous perish, and no man lay it to heart. And merciful men are taken away. None considering that the righteous is taken away from the evil to come." So the Most High knows if you're going to be able to withstand the evil to come in your life. And who knows the reason why he kind of like took Enoch away, right? Because he knew his heart, right? So he was taken away for a reason. So again, we have to trust the process of the Most High because everything that he does is righteous. So let's go to Psalms 147 and 5. So there's a plan and a purpose for that soul that dies, right? We don't know. Everything that the Most High does is perfectly crafted and designed to suit the purpose of the Most High. So we must accept the perfectly orchestrated will of the Most High because he knows best. All right, remember, his knowledge is infinite. A lot of times we don't understand why things happen, but he knows why. Because there's a rhyme and a reason. There's a purpose that he does things. Great is the Lord and great power. His understanding is infinite. So again, the knowledge of God goes beyond man's understanding. So sometimes things happen in our life and we don't understand why it happens. But again, we have to trust that process. So this is my last precept. I'll go to Sirach 39, 33, and 35. Sirach 33 and 35. So again, that young man that asked this question, what happened to that child that is born if he goes to heaven or hell? Again, we don't know. It's up to the Most High. Is this discretion? Is this world? He created all things, right? And everything that he does is in righteousness. Sirach 39, 33, and through 35. And it reads, all the works of the Spirit of God are good. So everything that he does is good. From the creation of what? The world. Everything suits its purpose and everything has a will because he done it for a purpose. And it reads, and he will give every needful thing in due season, so that a man cannot say, this is the worse than that. For in my time they shall all be well approved. 35. And therefore praise ye the Spirit of God with the whole heart. That's all we have to do. Love that God with all thy heart, all thy soul. And what mouth? Your mouth is your speech and message. And bless what? The way of the Spirit of God. That's all we have to do at the end of the day, man, to keep pushing, right? And live according to what? His way and not our way. That's all I got, bro.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Shoot, man. Hey, it really ain't much I need to to say. I'm gonna borrow two of those scriptures you got though, but it say if you die right after you're born, do you go to heaven or hell? One one thing about a child, when they born, they are born in sin because they got, it's flesh on them. But with that being said, they still don't have no knowledge of good or evil. So they hadn't been, contaminated by the ways of this world. So that kind of plays a big part in it too. And then one thing about it, even though it's been like a short time, they still serve a purpose here on the earth. And so everything is for our learning, whether a child is born for a short time or you get an older person that don't live 120. It's still a purpose to it. So it's up to us to meditate and figure that out. So we're gonna pull Psalms right quick. Just to everything I just said, I just want to show it in order, I guess you can say. So we'll pull Psalms 51. Spinning. Psalm 51 and 5, right? It said, remember, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. So we can see this is, um, it's kind of basically laid out. It's self-explanatory, in sin, these wicked thoughts, basically being shapen in this iniquity. All of this plays a part in the direction that we choose, or the direction we go. And like I said, as long as we have this flesh on us, we basically covered in this sin. But it's still up to us how we operate in it. Do we move, the ways that we wrote, do we move the ways of flesh? Nah, we can't do that. So the main thing, like I said in the beginning, is basically go back to purpose, our purpose, and what is the purpose of everything that we see. So I'm gonna pull something right quick. Let's go to Ecclesiastes, and we'll pull 3. Ecclesiastes 3 and 1. Well, we'll do 1 and 2 just. It say, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. So just going back to everything I said, it's a purpose and a season for everything. So when we born, it's basically to fulfill a certain purpose of what we were created for. And we always had to remember that. We was all created for a certain purpose. So within that time frame, whether it's a short time or like I said, if we live to 120, did we fulfill that purpose that we supposed to fulfill within that time? That's something to really think about. We're gonna go to Jeremiah. So I'm gonna pull this one, that elder pull Jeremiah 1 and 5 right quick. Let's see. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee, and before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet. So it's more so just the top part. Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee, and that's a full stop. We can just basically pull it right there, just showing that even before we was even brought forth, he knew us, and he, you know what I'm saying. Like I was just saying, it's up to us to recognize what we were created for, what were we brought forth for. You know what I'm saying? So we definitely need to be thinking on that. Now we'll pull Deuteronomy right quick. We'll do Deuteronomy chapter 1. Let's go to we'll do 39 because it kind of going to what I said. We can be in sin, but it say, moreover, your little ones, which ye said should be a prey, and your children, which in that day had no knowledge between good and evil, they shall go in thither, and unto them will I give it, and they shall possess it. So they was younger. They didn't have knowledge of good and evil. So they wasn't contaminated like a lot of us. So um and it goes back to, like I say, being innocent, being wrapped in this flesh, but meaning you don't have to, conform to the ways of flesh. So we have to always remember that. And it go I pull this last one, and it kind of goes back to what Elder said. I pull that one that he did in Romans, because I did want to use that one in Romans 9, just to make a quick point. Romans 9, and we'll pull 11. And say, for the children being not yet born, and that's basically going back to it again, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose, and that's basically what it is, that purpose of God, according to election, might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth. So we see it all goes back to purpose. You know what I mean? And that's basically something that's set by Jehovah from the beginning, that, what I mean, his election will stand. So when you born, like I said, for a short time, um, neither having done any good or evil, you still have a purpose to fulfill, and a lot of them have fulfilled that purpose that they came for, even though it was a short time. So, and that's all I got on that question. And so we'll move on to the second one. All right. And don't forget, y'all, like I said, all these questions are by younger, the younger generation. So y'all bear with the questions. All right. Question 2 is say, how are we born into the families we have? So you can go ahead and hit that one. And I ain't got a whole lot on it, but you can go ahead.
All right, man. So I kind of look at this where we understand we have a biological family, right? But we also have a spiritual family, and so we are born into these families for a reason, right? There's a purpose that we born into these families. So so again, it's the Most High that calls it, right? So it's not a mistake that you are here and you're listening. So the perfect design, the plan of God, and there's no coincidence that you're born within the family structure. Though everything has a purpose and a reason that goes beyond our understanding. Just kind of alluding to the first question, if that baby goes to heaven or hell, it's beyond our comprehension, beyond our understanding. We like to think that that child went to heaven or that spirit went to heaven, right? But again, it's the Most High that calls it. So we need to find our true intent and purpose within the family, right? So this is bigger than our biological family members. We have to consider the family of God. The family of God is always these members, the part of the body of Christ. So it is intrinsic to serve and dedicate our life and take on the duty and responsibility of what we are called to do. So we have to find our way and purpose within the body, the family structure, which is this body right here. The family members of what? Christ. Right. So I want to start this with Genesis 49 and 2. Genesis 49 and 2. So no, we all know that we have to hearken to our father Israel, and Israel is of the spirit, and that's the family that I want to be part of. All right. Now we may love our direct biological family members. We love them, right? We love them till you die or till they die, right? But we have to keep in mind that the family that we're trying to serve, right? The God that we're trying to serve is what? God of Israel, Jehovah. So Genesis 49 and 2, it says, gather yourselves together and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto what Israel your father. So that's the part of the family that I want to be tied to. I want to be bonds and chains with what? Israel. That's my father. And it says, so we hearken to our father to be part of the family. Therefore, we serve with devotion, dedication, hope, faith, and desires, expectation, and unwavering trust. So we find a corner within this body and we do what's required. Right. So a lot of us are here, part of this body, right? The King James Bible University, right? So we all have a purpose. So we find it and we do it. So we do what's required within this body right here. Right? So let's go to 1 Samuel 12 and 24. So within this family, we have to consider the ways, the customs, the traditions that we have to follow. All right. So let's go to 1 Samuel 12 and 24. And it reads, only fear the Lord and serve him in truth. So we want to be part of this family, right? We have to serve who? Jehovah in truth with all our hearts. For consider how great things he had what done for you. All right, so let's go to 1 Corinthians 7 and 22. So it should be a man's pleasure, right? Being part of this body, to take on the responsibility and duties what to serve in Christ in humility. So we are called to perform a task and duty in what? In obedience. Right? We can look at Samuel, we can look at Abraham, we can look at the prophets of old, right? They were called into what? The family of Christ, right? And they were called to do what? A purpose and the will of God. So that's what we try to fit in, right? So 1 Corinthians 7 and 22, and it reads, for he that is called in the spirit of God being a servant. So we know according to the law, right, Israel is what? Servant. So we part of this body, we part of this family. So that's what we gravitate to. And it says, is the Lord's free man? Likewise, also he that is called, being free, is Christ's servant. So that's the family that I want to be a part of, right? Although, again, I want to stress just for this young man to know, right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't love your family members, right? Of course, you love your father, your mother, your brothers and sisters, your aunt and your uncles, right? But you have to keep in mind that this family that we're trying to build is a spiritual family, which is tied to what? Jehovah. Understanding that Jehovah is the head. Christ is the head, and we are part of what? The body. We are the many members of what? Christ's body. So let's go to Isaiah 65, 12. Isaiah 65, 12. So when we're part of this body, right, we have to hearken and we have to listen, right? We have to take on the customs and tradition of Jehovah, right? So Isaiah 65 and 12. Yeah, can you make that a little bit bigger, bro? If you, yeah. And it reads, therefore, oh, therefore will I number you to the sword, and ye shall all bow down to the slaughter, because when I call, ye did not answer. So if we are part of the body of Christ, right, when the Most High call, we got to answer. We have to hearken. We got to listen. We have to be obedient to the word. We got to trust in him. We have to yield to the instructions. And when I spake, ye did not hear. So if we don't hear, we don't listen, we're not part of this family. But did evil before my eyes, and did choose that wherein I delight not. So remember, the big story is that we want to be part of this spiritual family, and Jehovah is the head. So let's go to Ephesians 4 and 16. So you got to remember, when we are called, what it shows, what a separation, right, between the instructions of the world and the instructions of what? The Father. Ephesians 4 and 16. And it reads, from whom the whole body fitly joined together. So this body is fitly joined together. Remember, this body is comprised of many members, right? So it's fitly joined together by what? By the bonds and chains of Jehovah. That's why it's a spiritual house. It's a spiritual family, right? So we're not bound and chains with actual chains and bracelet that we are bound, but we are bound spiritually towards who? Jehovah. And it says, and compacted by which every joint supplied, according to the effectual working in the measure of every part. So all these parts within the body, all these members are working together spiritually, connected by Jehovah. And it says, make increase of the body unto the edifying of itself in love and in promise. I love them that love me. I promise them that promise me. So we're all doing these things, and we're part of this member of the body, and part of this family, because what the promise, right? We love who? Jehovah. So let's go to Sirach 6. Sirach 6 and 20 and 26. Yeah, I'm gonna go here. I kind of jump one, but let's continue here. And then I'm gonna go back to 1 Corinthians 12 and 20, just to show that we're part of this. The members are part of the body. I'm gonna read 26 down to 30, bro. Yeah, 26 down to 30. And it reads, come unto her with the whole heart. And this is talking about, mother wisdom, right? This is what holds the family together, right? We are fitly joined together spiritually, right? So we all are interconnected according to what? The wisdom of God. So now we are being led by what? Christ, the head. And it says, and keep her ways with all thy power. It says, search and seek, and she shall be made known unto thee. So we search and seek, and she shall be made known to who? She. It's Mother Wisdom. That's what holds the body together. That's what holds the family together. And she shall be made known unto thee. And when thou hast got hold of her, let her not go. So if we want to be successful on this walk, right? So we let her not go. Who? Mother Wisdom. That way we can continue to strive as a family spiritually. 28, and it says, for at the last thou shalt find her rest, and that shall be turned to thy joy. 29, then shall her fetters be a strong defense for thee, and her chains be a robe of glory. And this is all spiritual. This is all talking about the mother wisdom, right? Again, that fetters and that chain is spiritual. So we are all aligned and we are all connected with that chain, which is the Spirit of God. And it's 30, and it says, for there's a golden ornament upon her, and her bands are purple lace. So that ornament is that wisdom that goes on the head. All right, so let me see here. So I think that was my last precept. So again, so that family that we are born into are those that reflect the true essence of Jehovah, mirroring the traits and characteristic of Jehovah. That is the family that I want to be a part of. And that's that spiritual family.
All right. So questions say, how are we born into the families we have? So you can just look at it like, well, it kind of going back to question one. Like I say, each of us are basically born for a specific purpose, right? And that's even goes into the family that we have also. You know what I mean? So you can look at, a lot of us, I think it'd be well, we all should know that a lot of our family can basically be testing the proving ground. So, because that's who we're gonna probably catch more hell from, family, but what they normally do will help us to become what, we was ordained for from the beginning. So you can kind of just look at it, why we born into families that way. Uh, and it's for a particular purpose, but only the Most High know. And you can kind of see. Matter of fact, let's go to Ezekiel. We'll go to Ezekiel right quick, and we'll hit 21, and we'll hit 27, and it say, "And I will overturn, overturn it, and it shall be no more until he come who right it is, and I will give it to him." So out of the families that each of us has, you know, it was you, you know what I'm saying? And I'm speaking to everybody that's in the audience. It was you who right it was to come to this truth. So we have to understand that. And it's basically, you know what I'm saying? So every family plays a part, and we all been given that choice by Jehovah to return to him. And is with, like I said, that subtle voice is what pricked us out of the family that we are in. It don't matter from the four corners. You know what I'm saying? That even though we listen to the voice, like I say, that family still gonna be that testing and that proving ground that we all gonna have to go through. So, and that's just basically guaranteed. So we'll go to Deuteronomy. We'll hit 4. And let's hit we'll hit 7. Nah, 7 through 9. Let's say, for what nation is there so great who have God so nigh to them, as the Spirit of God, our God, is in all things that we call upon him for? And what nation is there so great that have statutes and judgment, doctrines and teachings so righteous as all this law, which I set before you this day? Only take heed to thyself and keep thy soul diligently, lest thou forget the things which thy eyes, thy understandings have seen, and lest they depart from thy heart all the days of thy life. But teach them thy sons and thy sons' sons. So it's more each of us that did come under this, that heard that voice, is now it's our responsibility to keep, since we under that covenant, now it's our responsibility to share that knowledge to our children. And that's basically how everything was set up. Once he overturned, now you got that truth. So you're supposed to continue to spread it. So now don't nothing but it probably won't be your kids, but it might be their kids. But now that seed is planted. So now it's supposed to keep going. And now, you know what I'm saying, that word's gonna be throughout different generations. And that's basically how it's set up when we born into these families that we have. And we can look at something right quick to show, why when we born into our families, what our responsibilities are. And we can go to Genesis 17 or we'll do 9 and 10. It say, God said unto Abraham, thou shalt keep my covenant, therefore, thou and thy seed after thee in their generations. This is my covenant, which ye shall keep between me and you and thy seed after thee. Every man child among you shall be circumcised. So we all supposed to be separated of the flesh and of the spirit. So it's a token of a covenant that he made with Abraham. So we supposed to be this is how we supposed to operate. And then we supposed to continue to pass it on, pass it down to each generation. And you can kind of see an example on how it's supposed to go when we go down to Genesis 18 and 19. And this is how everything's supposed to operate from here on out. Let's say, and he's speaking about Abraham. He say, for I know him that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Spirit of God to do justice and judgment, doctrines and teaching, that the Spirit of God may bring upon Abraham that which he has spoken of him. So this is how everything's supposed to look. Not like I said, it ain't saying that all your family gonna take it, but those who of Israel, they will take it. So when you born into a family, this is basically how it's supposed to continue to operate. Not saying everybody gonna get it, but those that have an ear, they will get it. So that's basically all I had. I didn't have a full answer. I just wanted to kind of, share it more so where you probably can kind of understand it. And so if that helps you out, then cool. If not, you can let us know and we can kind of talk about it in a different way that you know what I mean might be able to get it. So we'll push on to the last question of today. So all three of these is from the same young man. So all right, it say, if other people or nations believe in our God, then why don't they have the same position in heaven like we do? So, and I'll go ahead and run it right quick. So I'll let Elder finish it out. It say, if other people, or you could say nations, believe in our God, then why don't they have the same position in heaven like we do? The reason why, because he established the covenant with one people. I mean, you know, it's just clear. That's the Bible is set the way it's set. He established the covenant with one people. And that, with that covenant is basically passed down. And that inheritance that, he gave is to the ones that do keep his covenant. But, we can always, because it seems like a lot of us, we do worry about others. And I always say that but we have to always remember he is a just God also. And, those that, choose to worship him, then, what I mean, they have an opportunity to worship God and can live in a eternal peace also. So I always keep that in mind. I know I'm talking to a younger person, so Don't just look at him like he's just an unjust God, because nah, he's a just God. I mean, you wouldn't want another God. Well, he the only God, but you wouldn't want one any other, because he he reigns on the just and the unjust. So I always remember that. But we'll kind of get into it. Exactly what I was saying. We'll hit Amos right quick. And these more just going to be some foundational things that you can always keep with you to understand why other people can't have the same positions that his people have, but they still have an opportunity. And we'll kind of show that right quick. All right. We'll do Amos 3, 1 and 2. So you can just kind of remember these. They say, hear this word that the Spirit of God has spoken against you, O children of Israel, against the whole family, which I brought up from the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore, I will punish you for all your iniquities. So you can see he only knows Israel. So that punishment is gonna come against the one that he know. It's almost like, if you have a mom and dad, hey, they gonna, get off on you. They're not worrying about the other kids. So and then you have to kind of see that at the same similitude with him. He's gonna
Sure.
chastise the ones that belong to him. So just
Yes,
kind of
sir.
keep that in mind. So we'll kind of stay on that point a little bit. We'll go to Deuteronomy just to show you, and then we'll talk about the other nations also. Deuteronomy 7 and 6. It say, for thou art your perfection and beauty, a holy people. So you separated unto the Spirit of God thy God. The Spirit of God thy God have chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. So you can see he's real possessive with his people. So he chose Israel to himself. It could have been a whole lot of others out there, but he chose Israel. So we'll look at probably another one. Let's look at Joel 2, or 27. It say, and ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and none else, and my people shall never be ashamed. So it could seem like it ain't right that he only has one people, but he telling you that you should never be ashamed about it. He's your God. Well, he's the one who's actually doing his will, God. But and I know that, you do you do great in what you do, but yeah, he's the God of Israel. And that's basically how it is. But it kind of go back to something I did say earlier. We can pull Matthew, because as I say, he's a just God. I mean, he truly is. Matthew 5, and then we'll pull 45. It say that ye may be children of your Father which is in heaven, for he maketh his sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain, meaning knowledge, on the just and the unjust. So it's basically showing that he don't have no respect to a person. You know, if you got other nations that actually, treating his people well, or, you know, fending, what I mean, for unrighteousness that they may have to go through, then don't think he don't see that, because his eyes is everywhere. So I always remember that part also. Let's look at something right quick. We're gonna go to First Kings just to show you how he operates. First Kings, and we'll pull 8. And just basically kind of explain to you about your God, to let you know how he actually operates, right? It say, moreover, concerning a stranger that is not of thy people Israel, but cometh out of a far country for thy ways' sake. For they shall hear of thy great way, and of thy strong hand, strong power, and of thy stretched out arm, when he shall come and pray toward this house. So now he joining himself to your God. Hear thou in heaven thy dwelling place, and do according to all that the stranger calleth to thee for, that all people of the earth may know thy way, to fear, to fear thee or desire thee, as do thy people Israel, and that they may know that this house which I have builded is called by thy way. So you can see the beauty of God, you know. And like I say, you're gonna get many that come from out of a far country, meaning they're gonna have contrary ways of the flesh. You know what I'm saying? And I know Dick Khalil, he actually did something on that coming out the far country down at the pass. So, it was a beautiful lesson. So you can kind of get a little bit more information on that word country. If you kind of get with him on that one. So he did a real good detailed breakdown on that one. So we'll keep pushing. We'll go to Deuteronomy right quick. And we'll pull 24. It says, thou shalt not oppress an hired servant that is poor and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or of thy strangers that are in the land within thy gates. So you can see we can never oppress or basically speak bad to any nation. One thing about us, right? Our duty, our responsibilities are to be the stars of heaven. And basically the stars of heaven, they supposed to give light on the earth. And that's what we supposed to do. There's never any type of oppression or none of that. This is how we operate as stars of heaven. So we'll pull Exodus 23, and then we'll do 9. Kind of going back to what I said, it say, also thou shalt not oppress a stranger, for ye know the heart of a stranger, seeing ye were strangers in the land of the house of bondage. So, you know, it's basically self-explanatory. So why would we basically do anything wrong? The kingdom would never be like that. And one thing about it, I can tell you that we, out of everybody, should know how it feel to be done wrong. So why would we treat others wrong? So that'll never, um, get you nowhere. You wouldn't be in the kingdom. You can put it like that. So I pull this last one in Leviticus, and we'll do 25. And we'll do 43 through 46. And I'll clarify something just in case some camps listening in. It say, thou shalt not rule over him with rigor, but shalt fear thy God, both thy bondman and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you. Of them shall ye buy or redeem bondmen and bondmaids. But I'm gonna kind of stop right there. So when you're thinking of a bondman or a bondmaid, when you bond, that means you you tied to someone, meaning they united to you by a covenant. Don't mean they no slave to you. So don't never just look at bond men one way, because it'll kind of twist you when you're thinking about the righteousness of God. So I just want to say that. But moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye redeem, of their families that are with you, which they beget in your land, and they shall be your possession, and ye should take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. They shall be your bondmen, meaning united to you under a covenant forever. But over your brother, the children of Israel, you shall not rule one over another with rigor. So it's basically all of just showing that, they'll be joined with you under the covenant that you hold. So it's more so they holding a covenant with you to serve your God. And that's basically all it's saying. So that's all I got. So I'll go ahead and let the other Carlos finish it out.
Yes, sir. So let's see here. Where do I, man, there were so many different angles, man. I wanted to go with this, man, but I just wanted to keep it short and simple. Where, so, so we have to understand that there are going to be other nations that are going to be there at the end, as long as they're worshiping the God of Israel, right? So they're not going to be excluded, but they have to be doing what? Following the ways, the tradition, and the customs of Jehovah, right? So I just want to start off with that first. So I'm going to just give two scriptures with that. Isaiah 2. Let's go to Isaiah 2 and then Revelations 21. That's it. Isaiah 2, I think I'm going to go down 2, 3, and 2, 3, and 4, probably. Yeah, make it a little bit bigger. I'm getting old, bro. Yeah. And it
Right.
says, yeah, Isaiah 2, 2, 3, and 4, and it reads, and it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord, how shall establish the top of the mountains, and and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations, see that plural, all nations shall flow unto it, and many people shall go and say, come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, right? Meaning that we have to be that light to what? The other nations. That way we can teach them Jehovah's ways, the custom, the laws, the traditions, the ordinances. That is our job, to be the light to the Gentiles. And it says to the house of God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his path. For out of Zion shall go forth the law. Remember, there's one law, people. There's not two, there's one law. So all these nations are going to be following what? That one law. And it says, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. And he shall judge amongst the nations. Again, it goes to plural, the nations, and shall rebuke many people. Right? He's going to rebuke them because, of course, you're going to have some hard-headed, stiff-necked people that don't want to what? Follow his ways, his tradition, his customs. And they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up swords against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. So let's go to Revelations 21 and 24. 21 and 24. And again, and it reads, Revelations 21 and 24, and the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it. Remember, we're supposed to be the what? The light of the nations, right? Bringing forth that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding that they can walk in the ways of what? Of Jehovah. And the kings of the earth do bring their glory and honor into it. And again, I just wanted to establish that there are going to be other nations there, all right? But Israel, right? The Most High made a pact. He made a covenant. He made an oath with one nation of people and not everybody, right? So again, we have to be focused on our responsibilities and our duties as what? Israel, those that are what? Following Jehovah, right? So again, I could have gone in the way of love, that he loved one nation. I could have gone that we are his servants. I could have gone where he made a covenant with Israel. I could have also gone where with the promises, right? He gave the laws to only one nation of people, right? The lot, we are what? The lot of his inheritance. And we are also that bride, what, married to that one husband, right? But let's go to Isaiah 52 and 1. I could have gone all those different places, right, to make my point. But let's go to Isaiah 52 and 1. So this holy nation belongs to who? Israel, Jerusalem, people. So Revelations 21 and 10, and then I'm going to skip down to 12. Yeah, Isaiah 52 and 1, and it reads, Awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion. Put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem. We know Jerusalem is the people, the holy city. For henceforth there shall no more come into thee the uncircumcised and the unclean. Right, so let's go to Revelations 21 and 2. So that holy city, right, the Jerusalem is who? The people. That holy city was promised to Israel, wasn't promised for everyone. So Revelations 21 and 2, and it reads, And I, John, saw the holy city. There goes again that holy city, New Jerusalem. We know Jerusalem is a people. So you're just putting these little keywords together, right? They're all fitting. And it says, coming down from God, out of the heaven, prepared as a bride, adorned for what? Her husband. And we know that the bride is who? Israel. And we know that husband is Jehovah. It's putting all these little things together. That way you can get it. 10, and it reads, And he carried me away in the spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me the great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from God. And 12, that the scriptures speak. And it says, And I had a wall, a great and high, and had 12 gates, and the gates 12 angels, and the ways written thereon, which the ways of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. For that holy city belongs to what? The 12 tribes, right? You don't see the 13 gate. You don't see the 14 gate. There's always a separation between God's people and the other nations, right? So let's go to Matthew 19, 27 and 28. So that great holy city is a representation of what? Jerusalem, what? The people, right? So that holy city, that new heaven and a new earth, right, is that new governance of righteousness and fairness and equity. There'll be no defiled thing in that city. So Matthew 19, 27 and 28, and it reads, Then answered Peter and said unto him, Remember, we have forsaken all and followed thee. And that's what we have to do. We have to forsake all what? The things of the world. And we have to follow the instructions of the Most High. And what shall we have therefore? So this is Peter telling Yahushua, hey, we have forsaken everything. We have given up everything. And this is what Christ's going to tell him. And it says, and Jesus and salvation said unto them, this is my red letter, verily say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit on his throne of his glory, ye also shall sit upon the 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. You don't see the 13th tribe. You don't see the 14th tribe. All right. So got to understand that he chose one nation of people. That's who he loved. That's who he promised. Let's go to 2 Samuel 7, 25 and 26. Second Samuel 2 Samuel 7, 25 and 26. And it reads, "And now, O Lord God, Spirit of God, our God, the word that thou hast spoken concerning thy servant and concerning his house, establish it forever, and do as thou hast said, and let thy way be magnified forever, saying, the Spirit of God of hosts is the guide over Israel, and let thy house of thy servant David be established before thee." All right, let's go to Acts 1, 6, and 7. Acts 1, 6, and 7. And this is after the resurrection when Christ came back and spoke to the apostles. They were meeting up. Acts 1, 6, and 7. Just pay attention to what was asked. 6 and 7, and it reads, "And when they therefore were come together, they asked of him, saying, Lord, wilt thou at this time restore again the kingdom to Israel?" So why did he ask that question? Why didn't he ask, well, restore the kingdom to everybody? But he specifically said that the kingdom need to be restored to Israel. But this is what Christ said. "And he said unto them, It is not for you to know the times or the season which the Father had put in his own power." So let's go to Daniel 7 and 27. Remember Christ's ministry, he always said, right? Know what, let's see, where am I at? I always said read Daniel, right? I think that's in Matthew 24. I think I can get that real quick, but that's the reason why I went here to Daniel 7 and 27, and it reads, "And the kingdom and dominion are the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints." So we have to know who are the saints. We have to know who are the people of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Let's go to Psalms 50 and 5. Psalms 50 and 5. We have to know who are the saints. So again, the laws, the promises, the covenant, the love covenant that Most High made is with one nation of people. Psalms 50 and 5, and it reads, "Gather my saints together unto me, those that have made a covenant with me by sacrifice." So those saints that you see in Daniel 7 and 27 is only talking about one nation of people, those that made a covenant with him, according to Exodus 19 and 5. That's all I got, bro.
All right. I definitely appreciate it. So yep, thank you all for joining with us today. So if anyone has any questions that they want answered, they can just send them to dmartin@kjbu.org. dmartin@kjbu.org. So definitely want to say I appreciate each and every one of y'all for coming out today. And until next time, shalom, everyone.
All right, shalom, shalom.